Hello, I'm Felicity. Welcome to my coaching moment, Trust. We all know instinctively if we trust somebody else. We may not say it, but we can absolutely know with crystal clarity if I trust you a little bit, I trust you completely, I don't trust you. And it's interesting, as human beings, we've been primed our whole lives to know what is safe, because all the time we're wanting to make sure we can survive. So we absolutely, even if we don't know why, are very good at knowing if we trust somebody else or not. Why is this so important in the world of work? Well, what's interesting is that teams that have trust, organisations where there's a high degree of trust, have much greater retention, have greater productivity and greater engagement. So these things are critical to get right. And absolutely, we know instinctively we trust someone else. What's interesting is that there has been a huge amount of work on trust because it is so predictive of great performance in teams. And in fact, without it, great performance is almost impossible to get right. So what I'm going to do for you now is to break down a little bit about what it is and how to build it quickly. So I've got in front of me this rather wonderful, slightly ancient weigher. And what's interesting is that when we talk about trust, there's an analogy that's often used, which is a trust bank account. So in relationship with other people, we all have a trust bank account. And we can never know what the balance is in our trust bank account with somebody else, only they know that. So what's interesting is with any relationship, I can make deposits or I can make withdrawals. So an example of a deposit into a trust bank account, let's say with a colleague at work, is I speak well of them in a meeting. Let's say I speak well of them on the Zoom call, the daily Zoom call that we have. I spend time in the evening helping look over their report before it's been submitted, just to make sure that it's okay. I make an introduction to them, to an important colleague that's going to really help them get some visibility in the business. I say some really good stuff about them in their appraisal. I ask them to be involved in my project, which is a critical thing that they really want to get some skills and expertise in themselves. And can you see here that as I do this, I'm not sure how many pounds it's going to be able to take, but I'm actually putting deposits into the trust bank account with somebody else. I've got lots of coins here. And so all the time I'm putting these deposits in, and as I do each of these things, I'm building trust with that other person. Now, we're all human, we're all fallible. There will be times when we mess up, either intentionally or unintentionally with somebody else. Let's say I'm a day late to give my report in to my boss. That's a withdrawal. Let's say I don't let somebody speak up in a meeting. Let's say I rather unfairly take credit for someone else's work, and that's just flung off the weighing scales there. Or I don't take the opportunity to let them in on a project that they really, really want. Can you see what's happening here? All of these things are withdrawals, and what's interesting is we never know how big a withdrawal it is having. All of the evidence is that it takes about 6 positives. So let's put out here in front of us. It takes about 6 positives. So I'm going to put this here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it takes about 6 withdrawal deposits to counter 1 withdrawal. So it's we as human beings are very unevenly stacked. We put far more significance on the withdrawals than we do the deposits. We are absolutely tuned for survival, and in relationships with each other, we place, maybe wrongly, but we place far more weight on the bad stuff than the good stuff. So we need to be really mindful of putting in as many deposits as we can into a relationship, because we never know whether unintentionally we're making a withdrawal. And when we look at trust, typically it's comprised of a couple of things. It's comprised of somebody's competence, so how good they are at their job, the quality of their work, the reliability, the standard, the professionalism of what they deliver. So that's the competence piece. And then the other part is the authenticity. So the how honest they are, how straightforward they are, how kind they are, whether they do as they say, whether they are trustworthy, and whether they can be believed. So in any relationship, you may trust somebody's competence and not their authenticity. Similarly, you may trust their authenticity, they're a really genuine person, but you don't trust their competence. So trust tends to be seen as this competence and authenticity, and in a relationship with each other, we all have these invisible trust bank accounts, and we are all the time really aware of what's the balance with somebody else, and we feel it instinctively, we feel it viscerally in our bodies. So what's important as you think about this is, in times of stress like we are in at the moment, in COVID times, people's ability to trust might be lessened, and particularly those of you who have power over others, if you manage others, if you lead others, it's really important that you generate trust, that you put deposits into that bank account readily and early and generously, because people are going to be looking for those signals, and they may find it harder to trust in times of stress because there is a greater risk to survival. So there's a very basic biological reason why we may not trust people as readily at the moment. So as leaders, we need to demonstrate and show and demonstrate that trust to others for them to be able to reciprocate back.